Keith Sanchez dropped a new mock in the middle of the NFL season, and we're here to break it down. Quarterback landing spots. Cam Ward, Sheduer Sanders, they made the top 10, but they weren't QB1. Who's QB1? We'll tell you. That and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. You can always find me on Twitter at DP_NFL. I'm a senior draft analyst, and thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Sorry for being our everyday. As you know, I got to kick the intro to Mr. LSU himself, Keith Sanchez. You can find and follow him on X at TheTalentCode. You talk to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. This is Keith Sanchez, 2019 national champion with those LSU Bengal Tigers, man. And what the other side to this dynamic duel that we like to call the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, where we bring you championship level content each and every single podcast. I want to start this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day, man. Every listen is greatly appreciated here. On today's show, we are featuring my mock draft. So I know it's about to be some holes poked in it, right? Go check it out over at the Draft Network, man. I put out a brand new 2025 NFL mock draft. We're going to talk about quarterback landing spot. Did the Dallas Cowboys reach for a pick? And I'm assuming that's DP's question, right? So we're going to get into that conversation. And then defensive prospect landing spots, right? Where do we slot these guys? Where are they going? We're going to have all that fun. DP, let's kick this thing off with the quarterback landing spots.
You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. QB landing spots. Keith, looking at this mock, the first pick was Mason Graham to the Jacksonville Jaguars, interior defensive lineman from Michigan. And the first quarterback, it didn't take long. You had the New York Giants at number 2, and I think New York Giants fans will probably be happy with the second overall pick. They probably want the first to get rid of that, to make sure they get the guy they actually want. You gave him Jalen Milroe. Number 4, the Cleveland Browns select Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami. And then number 5, the Las Vegas Raiders select Sheduer Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado. Keith, let's talk about Jalen Milroe. And why did you put Jalen Milroe as essentially the QB1 of this mock draft over the Cam Ward and the Sheduer Sanders for the New York Giants?
Yeah, I'm going to jump into the future, right? And having been in these rooms, right, when you talk about comparing and contrasting different prospects, I think the conversation may come up, hey, will we go with Jalen Milroe because he provides a different skill set compared to the other guys, right? And I wonder if, and I hope that Brian Daboll gets another opportunity, right, with a quarterback that he selected, right, and he's able to groom. And I wonder if there's going to be something like, hey, watching even Jaden Daniels, right? Like right now, Jaden Daniels is doing well for the Commanders. One, obviously, because of the deep ball accuracy, right? But the 2, he's able to set the floor because of his running ability. And I'm looking at guys like Jalen Hurts, right? And that if he's able to run the football, will that be able to set a floor that there's some type of consistency? Now, you will become more of a running team, right? But at the end of the day, you have some type of consistency offensively to kind of build off of that foundation. And so I like Sheduer Sanders. I like Cam Ward, right? It was more so trying to throw a different perspective to it, right? Having sat in those meeting rooms and like, hey, this may be a potential thing that happens, right? And you watch him dominate with his legs against LSU, right? And and the thing is that it's not like Jalen can't throw the football. He can throw the football. It's just some minor things that you may want to tweak with him and make him more accurate and work on his pre-snap, post-snap reads, things like that. But he does have a skill set and tools. And I know people are going to be like, hey, what an Anthony Richardson conversation, nervous about that. Jalen Milroe has significantly more playing time, right, over Anthony Richardson. And I think he's more advanced as a passer than what Anthony Richardson came out at this moment. So I would look at it and say, hey, I'll go with Jalen and then try to figure it out. But I also do like Sheduer and Cam in his position.
Yeah, I think, and of course, Brian Daboll's experience with Josh Allen, a mobile quarterback, stuff like that. We've seen the reason why Daniels got paid is because Brian Daboll came in the first year, he got the legs going to Daniel Jones. Yep. He was kind of making the dual threat plays. I think if you make this pick, I do think this pick will be hard to sell to Giants fans because they're going to be, because it's a pick where with Jalen Milroe, you're not starting him as a rookie, like at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like I look at Cam, I'm like, okay, I can see a path for Cam to start. I could definitely see a path for Sheduer and feel comfortable with them as passers starting as rookies. That Giants fan base after dealing with Daniel Jones as long as they have. Now, granted, some of them, you deserve this. You didn't want to pay Saquon. You said, let's pay Daniel Jones. Y'all pounded the table for that. Now you got to reap what you wanted, right? Like this is what you wanted, and you're not happy with it because of the things that he's doing on the field. I think because it might signal that, hey, we're going to roll with Daniel Jones again for like the first 8 games because you're not going to start Jalen. But I mean, upside is absolutely there. And I think if Brian Daboll, and I hope he gets another shot, and he's not, he didn't sign that man to a contract. Right. You know what I mean? Like he did not sign that man to a contract. That was on the GM, Joe Shane, and everything, who came over, I think, from Buffalo as well. So if you do it, I say you sit him for a little bit. I think Giants fans will have to get their minds wrapped around it if that was the play. But I trust Brian Daboll with most quarterbacks, as long as they mentally are functional. And that's just something that we have not seen from Daniel Jones.
Yeah, and DP, the Giants, right? The NFC East is a bad division right now, right? So I would even look at, hey, like let Daniel Jones go or do whatever you have to do with him, right? Bring in Tyrod Taylor again, right? Last year when Daniel Jones was hurt, Tyrod did a decent job, and I believe he won some games with the New York Giants. So it's like they are so far offensively from finding even a foundation to know if their offense is going to score 3 points this game or if they're going to score 25 points this game. They have no idea, right? Like you don't know, like, and even defensively, you don't know, okay, how many points do we need to hold this team because we know our offense can get this, right? You like, hey, the minute they kick 3 field goals and it's 9 points, we got a shot to lose, right? And so I think they want to solve that problem.
No, 100%. Daniel Jones is definitely, I mean, because you got Malik Neighbors, you got Jalen Hyatt, Theo Johnson is starting to come alive, Wan'Dale Robinson, Tyrone Tracy, like is cooking in the backfield. Yep. You got to get some competition at quarterback. So I'm listen, regardless of who they pick, they got to go somewhere. Like you said, Tyrod Taylor. If you're going to take a Jalen Milroe, get Tyrod, because Tyrod will be the perfect tutor and mentor for him at that position. Cam Ward to the Cleveland Browns. You got to change something with the Deshaun Watson situation. You got the worst contract in NFL history, but nonetheless, like he's going to be coming off with a torn Achilles. Deshaun Watson is you can't roll with it, man. You just can't roll with it. Yeah, bringing in Cam Ward, the arm talent, he has the accuracy. He's a more than functional athlete and make plays inside and outside the structure. And with the young players that they have, I like putting a Cam Ward, especially with the run game. Like Miami doesn't lean on the run enough. They don't lean on play action football and traditional football enough. It's like, hey, Cam, we're going to run RPO. Cam, hit this read. And if nothing's available, play Houdini. Is like, no, put him in the structured offense for the first time, I think, in his college career, where it could be structured and even. I think that's how you'll get a better version of Cam than what we even see right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing, DP. I think people are going to look at my mock draft and they're going to be focused on where did QB1, QB2, QB3, right? No, like I looked at these guys because I do this job, right? I looked at these guys and I said, what are good fits? And you just talked about it, right? I said, hey, Cam Ward, when you put a lot on his plate, you raise the percentage for him maybe to have a mistake, right? But you look at the Cleveland situation, right, with him going to the Browns, like you said, you got defense, you got a run game, you got an offensive line, you have a healthy Nick Chubb, you have playmakers. Then guess what? He can get under center, do some play action things, right? Like you can give him the layups because right now he's asked to shoot mid-range jumpers 50 times a game, right? Like there aren't that many. Yeah, there aren't that many layups for him. So I'm looking at Cleveland and I'm like, that could be a good spot for him to where you can get the very best of Cam Ward. And then you look at Sheduer to the Raiders, right?
That's just a match made in heaven, Keith. Tom Brady's there. He's part of the ownership team. That is just, I feel like that's just aligned.
Yeah, and I look at it and people are like, okay, well, Keith, why did you put him to the Raiders if you aligning things? And it's like, because the Raiders need somebody that has dealt with contentious situations already, right? And for better or worse, Sheduer has been in those situations, right? From the time he was at Jackson State all the time to here. Sometimes they create their own problems, right? And create their own news clippings at the end of the day. And Sheduer is not going to be fazed by that. They need a quarterback that's willing to come in there and be like, hey, I can turn around the entire franchise. Hey, you know what? This is bad, but I know next year will be good, right? And we looked at, and he has the faith because he's seen it at Colorado. Last year was bad. everybody piled on us. It was all bad. I showed up. This year is better, right? And I think he'll have that faith with the Raiders and the same mentality.
No, 100%. Now, like I said, that they need somebody to settle the ship. Like, they need somebody that could come in, settle the ship at quarterback, but also get the ball effectively, can make multiple throws. Being behind a bad offensive line for 2 years, even though it's a better group this year for Colorado, he's accustomed to chaos.
Yeah.
Like, he's accustomed to chaos. So it's like, now because it's different when you take a guy who's not accustomed to chaos and you put him in chaos. We saw that with Bryce Young. You play with everything is great around you, then you go to a terrible franchise and it's chaotic. It throws everything off. We're seeing it with Anthony Richardson. Well, I mean, Florida was chaotic too. And then, like, now you get to Indianapolis, and that's even more chaotic. So it's just like, you don't put young quarterbacks in there. I like the Sheduer. Like I said, everything for that aligns up. The owner seems to want him. Tom Brady's one of the new owners. That's his mentor, guy that's worked out with him. I feel like that is one of the almost, like, I ain't gonna call it guarantee, but if there's something that you say, hey man, Sheduer Sanders to the Raiders is going to happen, I would bet my money on the 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, 100%. When DP, let's keep this thing going and flowing. And we have the headline: the Dallas Cowboys reach for a pick. Who would have thought, right? But I know I'm gonna get questioned about this, so that's coming up next.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch or an urge in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the exact same page where you placed your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 back in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Again, you'll get started with $150 back in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Again, that's FanDuel.com to join today. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. So when my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. The Dallas Cowboys, Keith, in your mock draft, they picked 11th right now. Dak's out for the season, so they might end up picking a lot higher than this if it continues to trend the way it's trending. And you gave them, it's trend. Cooper Rush is definitely going to help them secure a top 10 pick. Like, that's just the way it's going to go.
But didn't Cowboys fans want Cooper Rush, right? They wanted to get rid of
before paying Dak again. They thought Cooper Rush was going to
bring in Cooper. Okay, you got Cooper now.
He threw like 46 yards at one point during the game, and then they benched him. No, like, you know what I mean? You gave him at number 11. Ashton Jeanty, running back out of Boise State. Of course, this is RB1. Talented running back, like a do-it-all guy. I'll always continue to push back, man. He is not Saquon. He is not Bijan. Those were different animals, like different athletic profiles, different movers. The moment Saquon did the reverse hurdle in a live NFL game 2 weeks ago, I don't think anybody should ever try and compare Ashton Jeanty to Saquon or compare anybody to Saquon. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a different cat, but always been a one of one in a sense. But Jeanty, being as good as he is, a blue chip style player, when I looked at this pick, Keith, I was like, man, this is a hard sell for me. Because as good as he is, now granted, you took the guy I really want them to get the pick before. You had the Carolina Panthers taking to Torrey McMillan. That's the guy I want the Cowboys to get to pair with CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson and stuff like that. I think the question is, with this loaded running back class, when you look at Omarion Hampton, Quinshawn, Trevion, Caleb Johnson, Nick Singleton, Ollie Gordon, Donovan Edwards, Devin Neal, there's so many running backs, and it's so deep and talented. It's arguably one of the deepest and most talented running back classes we've seen. How do you sell the Cowboy fans, hey, I'm gonna give you a running back top 15, because I always view running backs this high is a luxury, especially because how we talked about the Cowboys. Jerry Jones has sold their fan base year in and year out. It's all in. We're a playoff caliber team. Now, me and you talk on this pod. I don't know if they've ever truly been a championship contender the time Dak has really been there in his prime. So it's like they need another receiver. Jalen Tolbert has not been it. Brandon Cooks is long in the tooth. It's all CeeDee Lamb. Their passing game is a one-man show right now. How do you tell the Dallas Cowboy fans, hey, I gave you the best player available. We'll fix the receiving situation a little bit later?
Well, DP, I think that's more of the issue, right? That I look at guys that obviously I had going after him, and outside of Coast and Loveland, right? Which I don't know if the Cowboy, I feel like the Cowboys' biggest positional need is not tight end. I think that this is right amongst the threshold of the drop off, right? Like this is like, I feel like this area, DP, is like the trade back area, right? Like this is where pick 15 can give you the same value as pick 30, right? And so I said it in a paragraph of like the Cowboys don't have enough draft picks to fix their roster anyway, right? Like, so you might as well go with a premium proven guy, right? And I agree with you. Big Bijan Robinson fan, big Jahmyr Gibbs fan, right? I don't think he's of that ilk, but I think if you can get Dalvin Cookish type value from him, then you're okay. You get what I'm saying? And like this was a good selection. I just think that they need some type of offensive balance. I don't know if I like, and you tell me, like even Luther Burden getting drafted, right? Because now Teodoro McMillan is at right one pick ahead of them. They're in this scenario. Okay, do we go with Luther Burden or Emeka Egbuka? Two guys that I think we both feel the same about them being slot dominant wide receivers. When you already have CeeDee Lamb on your roster, who's a slot dominant wide receiver, right? So you're trying to, how does that fit? Can't unless we going full wide, can't have two slots, right? So I think that it's just going to be a difficult situation, I guess, for the Cowboys. And this is just a difficult picking area. I like Ashton Jeanty. I almost made the statement. I almost went with Omarion Hampton, right? But this will force them to potentially have to trade down. If I was them, I would trade down. And if a running back is available, I would draft that running back.
Yeah, I mean, if you could trade down, I mean, for me, even looking a little bit later in the mock, like I was like, because especially when that interior D line being such an issue for them, Mozzie Smith not panning out, I was like, one guy I think that they absolutely should have on their radar is DeMonte Capehart from Clemson. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was like, if you could trade down, get an extra day 2 pick in the same draft, and get a Capehart or get a, I know Cowboy fans are absolutely not going to be like, if they drafted Kenneth Grant, you know how fans are.
Oh, yeah, that's not a
same helmet, same school.
So
it's like
the funny part was
guys.
Yeah, you know that almost happened with Abdul Carter. Almost sent Abdul Carter to the Dolphins because I know they need linebacker help.
They got chopped,
and I was like, this is not going to play out well.
Nah. So no. And Chop had, I think Chop had a good game on Monday night against the Rams too. So Jalen Phillips has gotten hurt back-to-back years, so it's not a bad idea. I think like to your CeeDee Lamb point, because when I looked at it, I thought about the same thing. I said, okay, Luther Burden, Emeka Egbuka. The reason why I have some solace in potentially making that pick is because of the fact that CeeDee Lamb over the last 2 seasons has changed, has gone to playing more outside. Before that, like he was like almost 6, like he was about 70, almost 80% in the slot, like his first 2 to 3 years in the league. And this year and then last year, he is getting close to that 50-50 split. And because he's being able to play that kind of inside out game where I look at Emeka and Luther, and I think especially with Luther, I think Luther can play outside. It's just we don't see it a lot, and it's like hard to project that to the league. It's like in the slot with a 2-way go, that's where he's at his best. You know what I mean? I think either one of those guys, pairing them with CeeDee Lamb for Dak would be outstanding for them, simply because now, okay, if CeeDee Lamb is going to take double coverage, he's going to take the safety in the corner. Now I got a backside crosser coming from either Luther Burton or Emeka Egbuka. Both have shown to be really talented running after the catch weapons. And I was like, all right, what could, especially in this receiver class, because we don't really know how it's going to shake out after the top 3 to 4. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to give you guys a little foreshadowing. Kyron Lacey might be rising up on my wide receiver list. We're going to have to have that conversation another day, because I've watched his tape. I like him. You know what I mean? I like him a lot. Mm-hmm. So, like, just this wide receiver class is still a lot of smoke, still a lot of dust that needs to be settled. So it's like, man, if I could get one of those receivers round 1, ideally you trade back, like you said. If you could trade back, that would be perfect. But if I take one of those receivers and I can get one of those running backs, later, you know what I mean? Whether it's a Caleb Johnson, Ollie Gordon, in round 3, if Trayvon's a senior, so he's coming out. If Quinshawn decides to come out, you know what I mean? Round 2, 3, with one of those extra picks as well, like I think it'll be a really good situation. But I mean, hey, you can't really go wrong. I know I'm gonna tell you right now, Cowboy fans are definitely not gonna be happy about taking a running back top 11. But at the same time, you need help.
You can't. They can't, like, beggars can't be choosy, right? And Cowboys fans right now, y'all are beggars, right? You need good players to come to your team, regardless of what position they play, because y'all have a lot of positions where you don't have good players, and that's the problem.
Just make sure you draft the running back, please, Jerry. Like you completely ignored it in 2024. Don't do it again. You may not take one at 11, but dear God, take one within the next 6 rounds of this draft class and give Dak a run game again, please. Like, come on, what are we doing?
Yep. 100% with DP. We spent a lot of time, man, talking about quarterbacks. We talked about running backs, right? Let's flip to the other side of the football, talking about defensive prospect. Landing spots, we're going to talk about that coming up next.
Hey, Locked On NFL Draft fans, remember our great partner, Ultimate Pro Football GM? Well, they're back, and they have added an amazing new game mode I need to tell you about. The game that has you step into the shoes of a football franchise GM and lead it to glory now has a new head coach career mode. Ultimate Pro Football GM is completely free, has no ads, and 100% playable offline, play on the go as you want and when you want to. And here's a special offer for Locked On fans. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your franchise. Make sure to get it, as this perk will jumpstart your play and give you the advantage you'll want in creating a dynasty. To download the game, just visit ultimate-gm.com or look it up in the app stores. You don't want to miss out on this deal. Ultimate Pro Football GM, start your dynasty today. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot, for being our everydayers. Defensive landing spots, Keith. I got to go to pick 20 and 21, really. The Atlanta Falcons. Now, of course, Terry Fontenot is still there, so this might not happen, Keith. But getting James Pierce Jr. to go with the litany of interior defensive line guys they have, giving them a potential guy off the edge in round 1, I love it. You know what I mean? He's come on late, later on, like later in this season. He's been playing good ball, getting back there to the quarterback, increasing his pressures, hurries, and even his sacks over these last couple weeks. The Falcons need this. They need the ability, because at the end of the day, your division is not good. So winning your division doesn't really tell me much. It's when you have to go up against Jared Goff, go up against potentially Jordan Love and the Packers, or whoever's, the other court, Brock Purdy, being able to get back there on third downs, those true drop back sets where they're going to try and close in your interior defensive lineman and tell your edge guys, we trust our tackles one-on-one. You need a guy to make them pay for that. And they don't have that right now. Arnold Epiketti's been solid throughout his career, but they need a guy. I like the James Pierce Jr. pick. Even though he fell to 20, I like that pick and fit for them, because they need a guy. And I think he has all of the physical ability to be the guy right away for them. And also DeMonte Capehart, I like that pick for the Arizona Cardinals. Just continuing to beef up that defensive line, getting physical, being aggressive. This team right now is 6-4. You ask people back in August, they probably wouldn't have said that, Keith, but this team is playing good ball, and they have a good coach right there. 100%. And then they're still, let's be honest, not one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're still got a lot of places they can improve. Putting DeMonte Capehart, that is a crazy interior D-line situation. You put Capehart, especially pass rush situations, Capehart beside Darius Robinson. Then you got B.J. Ojolari, Baron Browning. And I know they have a couple
Cam
other.
Thomas they drafted. That's the young man.
They traded him. I think he's in Kansas City now. Yeah, they traded him before the season. Yeah, I think he's in Kansas City. But they have some other like fastballs off the edge that they can work with. So like getting an interior D line set that can take some attention and give your guys one-on-ones. I like that move.
Yeah, no, that was probably one of the ones that I thought a little bit more bolder, right? Because you're not seeing Capehart go that high.
Yeah.
But I'm just starting to just lean into whatever the narrative may be. I'm watching the film and saying these are the best 30 players, right? And let the chips fall where they may after that. Just
and you draft for your division too, Keith. Like people like I remember Belichick talking about that a while when he was still coaching. You draft to win your division. Like your division is filled with teams that are going to run the ball. So you need to stop that first.
He didn't tell the rest of the AFC East, right? That because they didn't win every year. They was drafting for something else, and the Patriots were drafting to beat them.
It took the Bills getting Josh Allen and getting that to work to be able to virtually unseat the Patriots. But I think for the Cardinals, stopping the run, stopping Seattle's run, stopping San Francisco's run game. You know what I mean? Like you got to stop the run.
Yep, no, 100%. One thing I'll talk about is the safeties, right? In this class, and I'm wondering like how many may, because we may have some safeties sneak in there. We have our guy out of Notre Dame, right? I believe I had 2 safeties in this one. Malachi Starks to the Commanders, which I really like, and then the Buffalo Bills getting Kevin Winston Jr. And I like him because I think he plays a Buffalo Bills style of football, right? And I put that in there. Like he plays fast, he plays physical, he has good length, he can match up with tight ends. I like him a lot. So that was definitely one, defensive selection that I was like, okay, I really like this spot in this situation.
No, I like both landing spots for the safeties, right? Like, putting Starks to the Commanders. If you're not comfortable, because we saw that, this past Sunday, like Russell Wilson was like, I don't know how he keeps getting away with it, but he's just throwing YOLO balls out there to George Pickens. And now you got Mike Williams at 6'3", 6'4", 220, and Benjamin St. Juste got beat over the top. You know how you kind of like negate that? Having a guy that has the range and playmaking ability to strike, like not even fear, but a little bit of angst. Make these quarterbacks just like, Malachi's a little too close to the hash. I don't know if I'm going to let this one go because if it doesn't get there in a timely fashion, he's going to take it. You know what I mean? He's that type of center fielder, and we all know he can walk down the box, play some slot, do different things. I think that is a great fit for them, especially as they continue to bolster and get that pass rush going in Washington. And, of course, like you said, Kevin Winston, then, just adding another playmaker in that secondary as well. I really like the pick 31, Detroit Lions, Donovan Ezeroku, edge rusher out of Boston College. I love that fit because, again, you draft players that fit what you do. And this is a Dan Campbell type of guy. He plays with his hair on fire. He plays with a not even reckless abandon, but a relentless abandon. He never stops going after the quarterback. And you think about getting Aiden Hutchinson healthy, and now you got a guy that can, if you slide protection to Aiden, right? Or if you keep a tight end to Chip, whatever the case may be, and you leave a guy with that first step quickness to bend around the edge, that motor in the Donovan Ezeroku, who's a proven pass rusher. Oh yeah, I like that a whole lot to be able to then you don't have to blitz, man. Just to think about it, Keith, 2 years ago, we were looking like, man, I feel bad for Aaron Glenn. We know he's a good defensive coordinator. He don't have anything to call with the guys they had on their defense outside of Aiden. They revamped this secondary. I think they're one of the league leaders in interceptions and everything up there with like Green Bay. They're taking the ball away.
Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. That combo, that's a dynamic duo. DP, we might have to bring him on the show, man.
Legit, bro. Like they're the way that they're playing. You got the 2 young guys. Rake Straw and Terrion Arnold, who's going to develop into their own, getting a pass rush, but you don't have to blitz and you could just drop 8. Yeah, that's how you force Jordan Love and JJ McCarthy and all those guys into like very compromising situations.
No, I agree with that. And that's why I did it, because I thought he was a good complementary piece to the style of rusher that Aiden is, right? And then now you got a pure speed guy, like you said, that's going to play with
He can
like just
collapse both ends.
Yeah, and collapse both ends. And I think it'll just make for a good pairing. And it's another culture thing, right? Like, you get the vibe that he's, like you say, he's one of those high motor, high effort guys that's going to turn out. And then also, I mean, you look at people's mock drafts, right? And those last 5 picks, I think people are just taking swings at the fences, right? It's just like, we have no idea where this could go. Like, we ran out of first rounders. We don't know where to go with this.
I'm
And I
going to
was
tell
like,
you right now, Keith, that 32nd pick, like, I love Josh Simmons, but like, what it might spell for Kingsley Suamataia, like, it hurts, because Kingsley was one of my guys. I'm like, man, if you draft Josh Simmons,
can he just kick to the right side?
I mean, yeah, he should. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I thought about. Yeah, because he played left, right. You know what I'm saying? Both of them. So I was like, hey, this might help him, and he might be a more right tackle dominant player, right, and do better at that side. So I thought about that.
I don't like to say it, like, but they kind of destroyed his confidence. They started him early. He had some ups and downs. And they yanked him for a kid that they didn't really believe in, the Oklahoma tackle, who was like super athletic, but he wasn't, the most physical player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I think they put him back in, and he just hasn't looked like the same confident young man we saw as a college prospect coming into the NFL draft. Hopefully we can get that back. But if you get Josh Simmons, and if Kingsley works out at right tackle, I mean, the rich get richer.
Yeah, 100%. With DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day, man. Every listen is greatly appreciated here over at Locked On NFL Draft. Listen, I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us, because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shot for being our everydayers. Guys, we got more draft talk. We got to get ready for week 12 of the college football regular season, and who is going to make a step forward in this 2025 NFL draft. We'll talk about all of that on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.